Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today I'm going to be filming another wrap-up. I believe this is like number 8 or so of the year. I don't really know, but let's get into the books that I've read recently. So the first books I've read since my last wrap-up were The Book of Ivy and The Revolution of Ivy. This is a duology by Amy Engel, and I really liked the first one. I thought it was good for what it is. It's just a YA dystopian and not something super original, but it is different from other ones that I've read. And quite honestly, I thought the writing was pretty good, so I was excited about this first one, and I think I even gave it to like 3.75 or 4 stars. I really liked our main character Ivy. I really liked Bishop and like their dynamic in this first one. And then I read the second one, which is The Revolution of Ivy, and it kind of messed up a lot of the stuff that I liked about it before. So I gave this one like barely a 3 stars, maybe even a 2.75, because there was the trope of the love interests being separated, and it just didn't go the way I wanted it to. Also, the backs of these are really cool too, as well as the front, but I really like the backs. I thought this was gonna be a solid duology, and it turned into meh duology because of the second book. Like a solid 3-star rating for this duology, and I'll probably unhaul it. And the next book that I finished on audio was The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first in her like Farseer trilogy, I believe it's called, and it was slow at the beginning, I will say that, but I really liked some of the characters. Like, I liked Fitz, I liked the magic system, so I am going to continue with the series probably on audio, and if I like the whole first trilogy, I'll buy the pretty editions off of Book Depository, because I don't want these ones. I gave it like a solid 3.5 because the ending was really good. Like, it got better once we hit the midway point, so I think she just had to like get into her stride with writing or something, because the beginning was very convoluted and kind of hard to follow in audio, and I was like, I don't really know what's going on, but it seems very descriptive. And I do think her writing is descriptive, but it did take me a while to get used to it. But I am going to continue with this series. I really want to get to I think it's the Live Ship Traders, which is the second trilogy in her world. So yeah, I'm really excited about those ones, but I will finish out this trilogy as well. Then the next book I DNF'd, and that was the first 15 lives of Harry August. I started it, I got maybe 25% of the way in on audio, and then it was so similar to like Zebulon Finch and like other books that I've read recently, and I just didn't like this writing nearly as much as I liked those books, so I just DNF'd it. And then one day I just randomly sat down and listened to the entirety of the audiobook of Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, I believe it is. This is really bright. Hold on. Can't do anything about it. The cover's just really bright. But this is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I thought it was really good. Like, there wasn't a lot to it, because it's like a 3-hour audiobook, and I listened to it in like an hour and a half maybe, because I listened to audios on 2 times speed. But I liked the subject matter. I liked that it handled just situations that younger teen boys or young adults handle and deal with in cities and situations like this. But I gave it 3.5 stars. But if you're gonna listen to it, I would definitely recommend the audio, because it is very well spoken, and I believe it's done by the author himself, so even more powerful. Oh, also, it's like written in verse, so which is why it's such a fast read. Then I listened to The Neverending Story by Michael Ende, and this book gave me problems because I love the movie, the first movie that they made of this back in like, I want to say the 80s or 90s. It's a really old movie, but it was my favorite movie as a child. And the first half of this book is that movie. What I didn't know is that the second half of the book is the second movie, which I really don't like, because I don't like what like the author did with Bastian as a character, and I understand why he did it, but I don't like reading about that part of the book, and I don't even like that second movie. So I gave this a 3.5 stars. I'm really unsure if I'm gonna keep it, which is really sad, because this is such a beautiful cover, and I might just for like nostalgia reasons, but I was really disappointed with this, I'm not gonna lie. And I will say there were like random differences between this and the movie. Like in the movie, the place is called Fantasia. I'm like pretty positive in this it's called Fantastica. So I don't know why they changed the name of the like world. And there were other random differences that I was like, why was this changed? And I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to the movie that it was like jarring for me, but next up is a Christian nonfiction, and that is No Wonder They Call Him the Savior by Max Lucado. I think this is my second Max Lucado book that I've read, and I really, really liked it. It was like a solid 4.5 stars, and it's literally just talking about the cross and like why God died for us on the cross and why Jesus was crucified and that type of thing. It's so powerful, and it's really short too. Like it's not even as long as it looks, because the back is like a study guide, so it's really only this first half of the book, and then there's a study guide in the back. So if you're looking for really quick, really powerful Christian nonfiction, I would recommend this one. I do genuinely like Max Lucado's writing. I know Oshina is a big fan of his, so she'll have more recommendations for you if you're looking for more by him. Next up, I started to listen to the audio of Christine by Stephen King. And the beginning of this book was rough because it was constant like swearing and cussing and just vulgar jokes and comments, and I really didn't like it. So I picked it up physically so I could like actually skip over those parts with my eyes when they came up, because they weren't really important to the storyline. But I genuinely liked the rest of this book once that like chilled out and it got more into the like thriller spook factor. But like I will warn you right away, if you're sensitive to like language and dirty jokes, probably skip this one. It's not my favorite. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I did like the idea of the haunted car, and I did think it was pretty creepy at moments. So we're still debating on whether or not I'm going to keep this one. But it's definitely a step up from Desperation, which I ended up hating and DNFing by him. And then I did a reread of Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I annotated this time. This book is like heavily annotated with highlights and underlines and comments and tabs, and the parts are tabbed. I went to town on this, and this is actually how I perfected my way I annotate, because I had an actual key and everything for this one. So if you guys would like to see an annotate or how I annotate books thing, let me know, because I could probably do that now that I kind of know what I'm doing. Although I do only usually do it with rereads unless it's a Christian nonfiction, in which I always write in those. Oh, but this is definitely a 5 out of 5 stars. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Next up, I listened to the audiobook of Uninvited by Lisa TerKeurst. This is my second, maybe third book of hers. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like this, so I did read it on audio and therefore didn't annotate or write in it like I normally do. But I think I am going to go back and reread this one. I give this 4.5 stars. It's very, very relatable if you are like an introvert, I would say, or really just a woman, because parts of it in the way that Lisa talks is very funny, but also very sad and relatable as well. I don't really know how else to explain her books. It's basically discussing how the enemy wants us to feel left out and lonely and not do our best for what God has for us. And she does a really good job of outlining that idea and then relating it back to scripture on why we shouldn't think that way. And then I reread Number in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night. These I annotated on first read when I read them like 2 years ago, so I was really scared to go back into these because I was afraid I wouldn't like them as much, but I actually think I liked Torch Against the Night even more on second read, because I don't think I really appreciated it the first time. And I read both of these in preparation for, I should probably say what I dropped them to. I dropped this from a 5 to a 4.5, and I dropped, actually I think I might have even raised this one. I gave this one a 4 stars, maybe even a 4.25. Which I think I only gave it a 3.5 or 4 stars the first time, so that was surprising. And I read them in order to read A Reaper at the Gates, which came out this year. I think it came out this past summer, and I was really iffy on whether or not I was going to buy it because I wasn't sure if I still liked the series. But I'm so glad that I did buy it after I listened to them all on audio. I like straight up binge read these on audiobook over the span of like a week. Also, as you can see, I have like all 3 editions of these books, which like The spines isn't a big deal, but the cover change between each of them is a little more extreme. But I end up deciding that I really do like this series, and I am gonna finish it off with the last book, I believe it is, that comes out next year. By the way, I gave A Reaper at the Gates 4 stars as well. I really like the way Helene's character expands throughout this series, and Laia is just a very frustrating main character, and that's all I have to say on that. And then lastly, of my rereads that I've been doing recently, I reread Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. This is still a 5 stars. I also annotated this one, but like only with tabs, because this book is just, it's too pretty for me. I couldn't do it. So I only tabbed in this one. Yeah, I only used those type of tabs in this one. And I do plan to reread Invasion of the Tearling and then finally read Fate of the Tearling, hopefully before the end of the year. Yeah, those are my recent reads, like books I've read in the last probably month and a half or so. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.